Good morning, happy Friday to you, and of course, the news, you've all heard it probably, that Bojo allegedly, why did I do that? Yeah, I'm not sure why I did that, but Bojo has gone, allegedly, because there is some doubt whether he is going now or whether he's going to go in the future. But he definitely is going. But we're not quite sure. Anyway, who is going to replace this idiot, this bumbling clown? At least we know what we can expect with him, because we've had so long to get used to his ways. But we don't know who is going to replace him. It's been discussed at length on various channels, and of course this is Talk TV.
The ministers and government aides gone, well over now a third of the government payroll. No doubt numerous more to come in the next hour, in the next few hours, next few days. Do you believe the Prime Minister can do anything to survive this?
No, it's impossible to see how he can do it, because at some point you just need enough people to staff a government, let alone command a majority of, the support of your MPs and therefore the House of Commons. You need people to do the jobs. And if you've lost 50 people, having already lost a sizable minority of your MPs who voted against you in a no confidence vote the other week, that number will only have gone up. I don't think he's going to be able to staff an executive. And that's surely, the moment I thought the game was up was actually not the resignations, because prime ministers have survived resignations before. It was when he had to appoint Nadim Zahawi as Chancellor, despite the fact that he wanted to appoint Liz Truss. Now, you can survive resignations, but the moment that you as Prime Minister can't appoint your first choice, what is the single most important position in Cabinet, you're done. You don't have the authority to govern. And I think what's happened is an awful lot of Tory MPs have seen that, and that was the final admission of weakness that broke the camel's back.
But also, having an Attorney General, Suella Braverman, who went on live television last night and said that she believes that the Prime Minister should fall on his sword, to say if there is a leadership contest, she will run in it for the leadership. She's still in a job. She's supposed to be answering questions to the Commons on behalf of the government this morning. Yeah. And on behalf of a government led by a man who she thinks shouldn't be in the job. I mean, that's just untenable, isn't it? I mean, Simon Hard has gone to... he was with the Welsh Secretary yesterday. He resigned after being part of that delegation to tell the Prime Minister to go. Brandon Lewis has now resigned, the Northern Ireland Secretary. The reports last night that he had resigned, then sources said, he hasn't resigned yet. If you call for the Prime Minister to go, either publicly or privately, you have to fall on your sword then, don't you?
I would have said so. I think there's a few cabinet ministers who are basically trying to play both sides, because especially if they have leadership ambitions, the Prime Minister does have a big block of supporters amongst the Conservative grassroots. Not a majority by any means, but there is definitely a significant group of Tory activists who are die-hard Johnson fans. Yeah. And in any leadership contest, as you know, the final two, Tory MPs will whittle down probably an awful lot of candidates down to the final two, and then the final two will go to a ballot of Conservative Party members in the country. And what I think is happening is some of these people who want to run for leader are thinking, hopefully they can, Boris can go, but they won't get blamed for resigning, and they can then make an appeal to Johnson.
I was loyal. I spoke up behind the scenes. I did the right thing. This is the thing, when we talk about people, acting for integrity and all of that, let's be honest, a lot of them are just making calculations, aren't they? It's like Nadim Zahawi, I'll take that job, name recognition, I'll announce some big tax cuts, I can then be the saviour. Hey, if I'd been in charge, none of this would have happened anyway. There's a lot of shenanigans, a lot of manoeuvring going on. Let's talk about a leadership contest, because, say, Prime Minister can try and stay on and Robert Halfon, who was previously very loyal, has said, just try and have a dignified exit at this point. I mean, even Theresa May was able to have a dignified exit in the end. But it looks like Boris Johnson will, quite literally, we are going to have to go in and grab him by the shirt tails, which of course will be hanging out anyway because it's Boris Johnson who doesn't tuck his sodding shirt in because he's posh, and drag him out, by his shirt to get him out of the building. But In terms of a leadership election next week, a confidence vote next week, apologies, 1922 committee announced they weren't going to change the rules yesterday. I think a lot of people were surprised by that. They thought that's what they were going to do, to allow an earlier confidence vote if there was a higher percentage of backbench MPs who wanted that vote. But they're going to have their elections, speeding it all up. Instead of going Wednesday to Wednesday, it's Monday. So we're going to have that executive in. Loads of people like Steve Baker and others, they're going to be standing basically on a ticket of, we're going to change the rules, vote for me, we'll change the rules. So we could have that confidence vote Tuesday, Wednesday next week. No one thinks the Prime Minister is going to win that. Only 65 Tory MPs, it's understood, would actually be guaranteed to vote for the Prime Minister, and that's probably dwindling fast as well. If we do get a leadership election, now, of course, Prime Minister loses a confidence vote, he can't stand for the leadership of the party. That's in the rules. Who do you think those likely two final candidates are going to be, and how will those MPs make that calculation? Will it be based on what they think the Tory party members want, what the country wants, what floating voters in red wall seats want? What's the calculation for them?
I mean, so Conservative Home, it's a very good question, but it's a very open question. Conservative Home actually polled in our most recent survey at the end of last month. We polled our panel of party members on this. We asked them, A, just who would they most like to be leader, and then B, we actually simulated those two, that head-to-head runoff between the final two candidates, and we simulated that between, I think, 9 different people. So if any of your viewers want to check those in detail, they're all on our website. But the most popular person was actually Ben Wallace. And the
Defence Secretary, currently out of the country in Ukraine, I understand.
Very handy. So Liz Truss in Indonesia, but you can see why. He's got a difficult job. He's doing it well. He's not got enemies on either side of the party, and you can see why people who've got quite tired of the Johnson style would think, right, here's our John Major, basically. Somebody who can steady the ship, probably maybe win the next election. If you're defending an overall majority of 80, it's actually almost impossible to tell for certain who's going to emerge in the final two, because one, it depends what order everyone gets knocked out in, but two, there's always sort of skullduggery going on. What often happens when you're getting to the final few candidates is that if the front runner has more votes than they need to get through to the final two, which they normally do, they often start asking their supporters to vote for a candidate they think they'll have a better chance against in the final round.
Well, everyone then should pass their support on to Jeremy Hunt, he'll definitely run, because you did a poll recently. Lots of people I know say, I don't want Boris Johnson to stay, I'm appalled by what he's done. However, I'd rather have him than someone like Jeremy Hunt, a Remainer, and someone who frankly would have had us. Well, we'd still be in lockdown now if Jeremy Hunt was in charge. We'd be in zero COVID style Chinese lockdown. But actually, you've done a poll recently that says that Jeremy Hunt hasn't got a chance.
He came last of all the 9 people that we polled in head-to-heads with everyone else. Yeah. He came last. I think one, if you've run before, it's unusual. Obviously, Boris Johnson quit his first leadership contest, but it's very unusual to win again. But also, I don't think you can win from that far to the left. Ultimately, the right possibly won't win this time, with Boris Johnson having largely been their person last time. But I think that you can't. Given where we are as a country at the moment and where the Conservative Party is, you're not going to win a leadership contest running that far from the left in anything resembling normal time. So I think it'll be either somebody maybe from the centre-right of the party, or it will be someone from the middle who hasn't got many foes, which is why I think somebody like them.
Yeah, a lot of people did that. They thought that with Theresa May, didn't they, back in 2017? I'm not entirely sure. 2016, so I'm not entirely sure that that worked out so well.
So quite a long piece there, and quite clearly they discussed who will be replacing him. Here is another piece that also defines who will be in the running.
But if you can name the last two in the contest that goes out to the members, probably the end of July, who would it be?
You can buy me a dinner if I get it right.
Done.
I think Rishi will be one of the two. Not sure who the other one will be. Might be Liz Truss, but I'd be surprised. Penny Mordaunt's a good outsider. Saj has had a good last few days, but Jeremy Hunt would be the other one I think might well make it.
OK, so that's Sunak and Hunt in the last two, and we've got dinner on that.
Possibly, absolutely.
Now, as you can hear in that last piece there, the idea that Jeremy Hunt is probably either going to be in the running or he's going to be the last person on earth, depending on who you speak to. I would probably put it to you that we don't want Jeremy Hunt. Yes. Now, why do I say that? Have a look at this. It's exactly what he thinks.
I very much agree with the central point in Gabriel's paper that we should be aiming for zero infection, and elimination of the disease, because that is basically the approach taken in countries which have a SARS strategy as opposed to a flu strategy. And those are the countries that have overwhelmingly been the most successful in tackling coronavirus. My sister lives in Beijing, and she flew back to Beijing in the middle of lockdown. And just to give you an idea of the contrast, she was escorted from the airport in Beijing to her home by Ministry of Health officials, and then put into her home for 2 weeks quarantine. The door was sealed, and she had a police car sitting outside her house periodically. And I'm not saying we go that far in this country, but I just think it's an indication of how serious they are in the countries that have had to deal with SARS about stopping at the root every possible source of infection.
So we would end up, if we had him, the zero COVID policies of various other countries such as New Zealand. We would be in perpetual lockdown with probably mask wearing in the toilet. The idea of CCP style COVID restrictions, and when he was talking, it sort of reminded me of that movie, Songbird.
Yes, it's the movie no one asked for, and who better to produce a COVID-inspired horror turd than the master of subtlety himself, Michael Bay.
Bumblebee, stop lubricating.
Shot entirely during the pandemic, Songbird tells the story of a mutated COVID virus called COVID-23, with an insane mortality rate of 56%. So put on your masks, or preferably hazmat suits, and make sure to like and subscribe, because we're going to take a look at this plague of a movie.
Where they are sealed into their houses and they're not allowed out. And if they get out from their house, they are taken away. Yes, so we don't really want him. I don't think anybody sensible would say,
no way, Jose.
So who is going to replace him? I don't know, but we could end up with somebody worse. And that is a fear that we have. So let's hope there's somebody sensible, but I doubt it. That's it from me. Have a good day.